Hello, and welcome to the Victory Podcast. I'm your host, Monique Watson. On this episode, I check in with Tramaine Lewis of Charlie's Cure Foundation. We talk a bit about Charlie, about Tramaine, and about what the foundation has been doing lately. Let's listen in. So, welcome to the Victory Podcast. I'm your host, Monique Watson, and I have the wonderful pleasure to have back again on the show. I feel like we can officially call you friend of the pod, Miss Tramaine Lee Lewis. How are you doing, Tramaine?
Hello, friend. It is wonderful to be here. I'm doing wonderful.
That's great. That's great. So maybe just before we get into kind of the body of today's interview, you can give the folks a little heads up about yourself and kind of how we know each other. Just a quick, 30,000 foot view. I will link Tramaine's previous episodes in the show notes. So if you want to take a pause, listen, come back so you can be caught up on sort of the previous episodes where we had Tramaine.
So yes, we met, was it early 2020? On a radio show with Oliver Thomas.
I want to say yes. It definitely was in a COVID world.
Yes, I believe. Were we doing mask then? You know what? No, it was.
I don't think so.
Because I was preparing for my benefit, my Christmas benefit concert. So it had to have been at the end of 2019 because the benefit concert was in December.
That's it.
Of 20. So it was before.
It was a pre-COVID life.
And we are still here, changing with the world, right? So happy that we are still connected. And I look forward to updating you guys on what's going on with Charlie.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, Tramaine is joining us. She is the president and CEO of Charlie's Cure Foundation. So again, I'll link in the show notes. I don't want to get down in the weeds because we've talked at this ad nauseum in the 2 episodes. So if you're listening to this for the first time, you're like, who's Tramaine? What's Charlie's Cure Foundation? Look in the show notes, pause this tape, go there, listen to those episodes, come back, and welcome back. And so we want to check in with you, Tramaine, the individual, you, Tramaine, the mom of Charlie, you, Tramaine, the CEO and president of Charlie's Cure Foundation, sort of what all those aspects, how you're doing as an individual, how Charlie's doing and your whole crew is doing, in whatever order feels most natural to you to sort of the rundown. Because I think we last spoke, it was around end of October, November timeframe of 2020, and here we are in October of 2021, so almost just about a year, just shy of a year ago, I believe. And at that time, Charlie had her big spinal surgery that from the first episode we were praying for, and getting you mentally there to be super mom that you are, to support her through that. And then the world decided to shut down, and COVID, as we all have been living through for almost 2 years now. And then I think she had the surgery, and she had some hip issues, and realizing that and discovering that and having to advocate for her care. So catch us up post that to the future.
All right. So after Charlie's major spinal surgery, I really felt like them straightening her spine forced everything else to kind of get out of whack. It pushed her hips out of socket. This is just my theory, because things were perfectly fine prior to the procedure. So one hip came out of the socket, they fixed that hip, and it threw the other hip off. So we had to go back twice for an osteotomy after the spinal surgery. And it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because Charlie was in excruciating pain. She could not verbally tell me what was wrong, which we knew it was due to the surgery, but she couldn't verbalize that. So that played on my mental state, because just not being able to have a conversation with your child about how she's doing and what's going on, or what can I do to make it better. It really, really sucked. And I just really had to lean on my strengths and really stay in a healthy frame of mind, because it was many times I almost lost it, many restless nights, many nights not really getting to sleep fully because I was constantly worried about her, checking on her. But God is so good, because we're at a point now where I can pick her up without her crying. And, you know, the recovery process has been, it's been a lot. And even through the recovery process, other things were happening. And I do understand, you know, I have a foundation that promotes self-care, and just my day-to-day activity reminds me so much of why we have to promote self-care. Because going through what I went through with Charlee and what we're still going through, you get into a place where you're not even thinking, the wheels are just turning. You're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about someone else. You're not thinking about rest. You're thinking about someone else getting rest. You're not thinking about the pain that your body is going through, because you're thinking about the pain that your little person's body is going through. So I neglected myself so much after her procedures, because so many things were happening. It was almost like one thing after the other. I felt like it just didn't even, you know, pop up in my mind to deal with me and my body. Like, if you do not take the time to rest your body will take it for you. And I remember developing in early February, Bell's palsy, which is a disease, not a disease, a disorder, a temporary disorder, where it almost looks like you had a stroke. Like I literally, my face shifted to the left side. Like I was talking out of the left side of my mouth. I couldn't taste my food. I could barely open my mouth. Like my husband had to literally take off from work. Like, cause you know, if mama shut down, the whole house shut down. I could not move. And even when I started feeling the symptoms, I was still ignoring it until my husband looked at me and he said, "You look like you had a stroke. You need to go to the emergency room." And I was like, "Oh, I'll go tomorrow." Like, just still not. It was just, oh my God, I was being so hard-headed. I spoke with a friend of mine who's a nurse practitioner, and she begged me to go to the emergency room, because she was like, there are things that they can find out right now that if you wait until tomorrow, they'll have to send you off for. So she was like, go right now. So I was just like, okay, fine. So I went, and of course they diagnosed me with Bell's palsy and put me on all of these meds to kind of, you know, help my nerves to get back to normal. And I began to pull on my health circle, pull on my people who, you know, my son, he's a teenager. I began to give him more responsibility. And part of me, I've never wanted my kids to feel burdened by Charlee, because I'm like, this is not their child. This is my child. This is their sister. I want them to be siblings to her, but I don't want them to be her parents, right? So they had to step it up. They got speeches from my parents, just letting them know, hey, this is what your mom is dealing with. They got speeches from my husband, just letting them know we have to pull together. And I learned to not be so fearful of relying on the people that I live with, not act like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have your son set up her milk so that she can get fed through her tube. You know, if he knows how to do that, that is awesome. But I didn't want him to know. for a minute because I just didn't want him to be responsible for that. I didn't want that to be a part of his childhood. But I'm learning that it's okay. It may want him to go into the medical field. I'm learning that it's okay for our 7-year-old to be with me when I'm changing her diaper, because she was truly helpful. You know, she doesn't take on that on her own, but just to know what to do, just to know how to apply certain medicines, it's okay for them to know. So I learned another part of self-care is to rely on the little people, because they can contribute in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not going to leave them with her, full term, but there are some things that they can do. And honestly, those little bitty things is big. It's so big for me, because if I'm resting and it's time for Charlee to eat, or if I'm maybe preparing dinner and it's time for her to get her milk, I can tell my 14-year-old son, hey, go set up her feeds. That is a huge help. It doesn't take long. He's a fast learner. I've watched him do it. I've come behind him to make sure that he did it right. But he knows how to do it. And they're not afraid. That's the part that was really gripping at me, was thinking that my kids were going to be afraid to handle her. And to them, like, this is like no big deal. And I was worried about that. I was worried that my children would be afraid to do that. So I'm just so thankful that they're not afraid, because, we have to pull on the little people. But so let's see, that was February. In May, Mother's Day to be exact, / my birthday. Let me back up. That was February. In April, I was changing Charlie's diaper and her femur broke just from me bending her leg a certain way. She has been bedridden for so long that her bones begin to get frail and fragile. There haven't been any weight bearing on her legs for over a year at that point, for so long that her bones were just literally just so getting soft. So a simple diaper change, and I heard it. It was such a screechy sound. I didn't know that's what it was at the time, but she cried so loud, and it pierced through my soul. Like, it broke me, because I knew something is wrong. And the next day, I went to check her leg, and it was swollen. It was so big. So we called the doctor and we got x-rays done. And when he said her femur is broke, I nearly collapsed, because I'm like, no, she has been through so much. And now we have to deal with a broken leg. Are you serious? And I just had to I needed a minute to just gather myself, because it was so heartbreaking. And then the guilt started to rush in, because it was me who did it. Like, I kept telling myself, you were really delicate. You weren't rough with her. I was already delicate because I knew she had hip surgery. So I'm just trying to change her, quickly, but softly, so that we could be done with. But her legs, like, she has cerebral palsy. So sometimes her muscles will tighten up and she'll close her legs like scissors. There's no way I could change her diaper like that. So I'm trying to open her legs, and her bone just snapped. So it snapped. I snapped. When we got the x-rays, I snapped a little bit more. Like, it was such a miserable time. It was such a miserable time. So they were able to get her leg. The process started. They had to put some pins in her legs, put a cast on. So now she's in a cast. So now my baby's recovering from a spinal surgery, 2 hip surgeries. They had to go back in her spine to remove a screw. So she has all this, her body has just been hit with all of these procedures, and now her leg is broke, recovering from that, to add more trauma. Mother's Day, the cast began, and this is when I noticed it, but the cast began to tear into her thigh, her upper thigh.
Mm.
And I just saw blood on the bed. And I'm like, where is this blood coming from? Because it was right where the cast was. I'm like, it can't go through the cast. I couldn't see it. And when I turned her over and I looked in the cast, and I don't know why I looked in it, something just said, look in the cast. There was this huge gash. It was so painful. And she was just whining because I didn't understand why she was so whiny. I thought it was because she was in pain from the procedure and she was just miserable. So I'm trying to make her comfortable from the previous surgeries. I'm just trying to make her comfortable from that, to learn that she is in more pain because the cast is ripping through her skin. So she had been in the cast for almost a month. Thankfully, it was time to come off anyway. But we called on Mother's Day / my birthday. The ambulance came and got her that day because I didn't want to move her. I didn't want to do any more tearing. I didn't want to move her. They came and got her. And, we went to the hospital. They took the cast off. They treated the wound. I thought she was going to need stitches or something, but thankfully they said it's just something that it can heal on its own. So that was in May, and she has been doing pretty good since then. In June, I had an allergic reaction to an antibiotic, amoxicillin, because I had some sinus issues taking place and they put me on some antibiotics. And my body, I had whelps covering me from my neck all the way to my feet. I looked like Freddy Krueger. Like it was so bad. Like, and I was so miserable. But it's just been one thing after the other. We are in October. Since June, we haven't had any issues. Thank you, Lord. It has just been
knocking on wood, all the things, and thank you, Jesus.
It has been recovery. And so I'm so thankful that she's gotten to a place where her leg from the wound, it doesn't bother her. I can pick her up now without her making a peep, without her crying, without her feeling pain. Like, and I know sometimes, she does, feel pain, but it's not as bad as it was, because the further we get away from those surgeries, the more she has to heal. So we have been really healing, However, we do have one more procedure coming up. They have to take the screws out of her hip. And that is supposed to be at the end of this month or the beginning of next month. It's going to make her feel sore, I believe. But I feel like she's going to recover in a few weeks and we can get back on this journey of just total healing. I've been bringing her to therapy. We've been trying to get those legs stronger, trying to get her to a place where she can stand on her legs. She got fitted for some AFOs. AFOs are braces that support your leg. So when it's time for you to stand up, you have some support. So she got fitted for those, and I can't wait. We go to pick them up this week. So I'm happy to get those on her, to get her start standing on her legs a little bit more. Yeah, I'm just a little sad that we're going to have to put a pause in working on those legs, getting those legs built back up to getting some strength in them. But I'm grateful that time will pass, because I look up now and all that other time is gone. We're not still just in the bed at home being bedridden. Charlee is going to school. She is amongst her peers and some other friends. She
having fun at school?
She's having so much fun. I'm gonna have to send you a picture of her and one of her friends just laughing. Big laughter. I was so happy her teacher sent it to me. It really made my day. But when she is not at school, she's in therapy. She is at doctor's appointments. She has a lot of those, but she is a busy little girl who keeps me busy. But she has a beautiful spirit through all of this. She really has been a beacon of light. I mean, all that she goes through, I don't even think she realizes what she can't do. She just knows when she is amongst laughter and peace and joy. It's like she can tell. You can tell when that she's truly a happy child. And so I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that she understands that she is loved, so I'm truly thankful for that.
And how's mama doing, Tramaine?
I
We
am
talked about the Bell's palsy, but how are you now that things sounds like it's sort of reaching a settling place after a lot of up, down, sideways, flip it, pop it, twerk it, stop it, all of that?
I'm pushing and I'm looking for new ways to push. I'm still connecting with other mothers who are pushing as well. We push each other. If I didn't have someone to relate to, I think I would lose my mind. But thankfully, there are people who have been where I am. There are people who are where I am. There are people who have not yet been where I am, and I can kind of give them a heads up and help them. To help and to be helped is an amazing thing. But you got to push. You got to push. And even if you don't have the push in you, you got to surround yourself with people who will push you and push for you. Because there was a time I didn't have a push. I didn't. But there was someone who pushed me. And I am so grateful for that because, it allowed me to kind of step into who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing, what my purpose is. So I'm still learning a lot. I'm still very challenged from an emotional standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from a psychological standpoint. I'm challenged, but I'm fighting. I'm fighting for my peace of mind. I'm fighting for my balance. I'm fighting to navigate my emotions and to not let them get the best of me. I'm fighting in my faith. I'm fighting and I ask God all the time, God, please don't let me give up on you. Just because there are days where it just feels so gloomy. And I don't ever want to get I don't want to get far at all from feeling his presence and just knowing that he can, and sometimes the enemy will get in your mind and show you all the things that you're going through and you forget that God can. And my prayer, sometimes all I can say is, God, don't let me get far from you because I need his safety net to keep going. So I'm fighting in my faith. I'm fighting for my body. We're not getting any younger. Charlee ain't getting no lighter. That little thing is heavy. She is 55 pounds now. And I
Mm.
carry her everywhere. From the bed to the front room, things like that, and from the bed to the car, from the room to the car, from the chair, whatever, just moving her, period. When my husband is home and off from work, I'm just like, can you get her? Like, get her, it's you on duty. And I'm praying for my son to beef up so he could carry her. I saw him lifting weights last week, and I'm like, you trying to gain weight? Thank you, Lord. I need you to get some meat, because he a little bitty thing. He 100 pounds soaking wet. But I'm like, you trying to gain some weight? Let me show you how to get some protein going, because I need you to lift this weight right here, because that thing is heavy. So I'm fighting for my body. I'm fighting to be in shape as hard as it is. I'm fighting to eat right, because I want to be around. I want to make sure that I see my daughter operate at her fullest capacity. And whatever that looks like, I want to be around to see it, even if it's just her responding appropriately. Like I asked her the other day, I was like, we were all in here watching a movie, a family movie. And I sat her next to me and I got her all comfortable and positioned. And I said, Charlie, are you okay? And she was like, uh-huh. She gave me this little, uh-huh. And I was like, oh, thank you. That was so cute. It was so appropriate. Like she knew to say yes in some way. And then there are times where she won't say anything. If I ask her something, she'll just smile. And so I know that she struggles with that. She struggles with speaking. But I'm thankful for the times that, she will respond on time. But I'm also working with her so that it can be something consistent. And I want to be around to see. Every time I ask her something, she responds. Every time I tell her something, she's intuitive and she knows what's going on. I feel like her comprehension and her understanding is there. But that vehicle that transports what I'm saying to her, that allows her to respond back, is something is fuzzy because she doesn't. So she needs that to be stimulated. She needs speech. She needs to, in that area, to be motivated. And that's where the speech therapy comes into play. She gets that at school, so, and she gets it at home. I make sure that the kids talk to her, stimulate her mentally so that she can know we're supposed to be talking back and forth, I make sure when it's time to get everybody from school, when we're asking each other how our days were, we're asking Charlie too. And she's listening to them engage with me. So she knows that I'm supposed to say something, so she will blabber something. Sometimes, I'll say, Charlie, how was school? And she'll go, la, 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 la. She might say something which lets me know she knows that she is supposed to respond. So now we just got to turn that blabberish and that gibberish into words. So I'm just praying that whatever wiring is going on in her head that is just not right, that it would get set into focus. And I just still believe that God can do anything. And praying for her and making sure that we're doing all that we can, it keeps my faith, built. And it keeps me, we're supposed to pray, and this is what I'm praying for. It keeps me praying. It keeps me on my knees, for my child. And I'm just looking forward to whatever it is God is going to do in her life. I'm just looking forward to it. And, having expectation, I would have to say, is my theme right now. I'm expecting something great to happen. We've been through so much. And even through what we've been through, there was a size of expectation even through that. But coming out of it, that size has grown even greater. It's like, God, what else can we do? What else can we do? And and we're just expecting you to do whatever it is you want to do. And we're just looking forward to whatever that is. So we're excited about the recovery. We're excited that she is doing way better. So we're just looking forward to it, the surgeries coming to an end. I don't want her to have another one. But so we're just continuing to push.
Amen. Amen. That's awesome. A lot of good tips here. I took a couple notes. If you saw me looking off, I was taking a couple notes, and all those should be in the show notes and the interview outline and all that fun stuff for folks. So lastly, let's see what the Cure Foundation, what's the latest and greatest, if there's any traction there or anything that folks can help out with, be involved with, any upcoming events going on with the Cure Foundation.
Absolutely. We have an upcoming dinner coming up. We are going to take some caregivers to dinner just to let it all hang out. It'll just be the caregivers. If anybody wants to donate to that, that's fine. But we're going to go to a really nice restaurant, and we're going to just take a night off to just relax, relate, and release. And I'm looking to do that in December. I know I'm not the only one who has been dealing with a lot, and then on top of all the stuff that we're dealing with, we still have to deal with the pandemic. We still have to deal with this nasty virus that's floating around here, taking lives, and be cautious, so I feel like, the caregivers are pressed with more than just what their child is going through or more than what their loved one is going through. And I feel like if I could just be frank, if they're anything like me, they've been depressed. They've had moments of depression. They've had moments of wanting to give up. They've had moments of wanting to throw in the towel. And not really being able to gather largely, that could be depressing in itself, because you're used of the regular group settings and therapy. You're just used to that. And then when it comes to a halt because of a global pandemic, it's almost like, yeah, we can talk on the phone. Yeah, we can Zoom, but just that getting together and feeling the energy of people that are going through what you're going through and seeing them trying, it means so much. So that's what this dinner is about. It's about coming together to see, to hear, to encourage, to inspire, to eat, because I love and to get to dress up, to put on your best look, to beat your face. You know what I'm saying? Get your best shoes, get your outfit on, look good for you, and just come out and let it all out. So I'll have a flyer within the next week or so, inviting some of our caregivers. But my website is the same, www.charliescurefoundation.com. Donations can be made on the site to support this dinner. And we just gonna let it all hang out. I wonder if I should just call it "Let It All Hang Out."
I like it.
That's what we need to do. Just let it and leave it there. Leave it there. We want to grab some tips on what we can do to refuel, because man, sometimes all those, like, you can constantly get that good encouragement, and sometimes when you're in the heat of it, it just goes out the window. You're not thinking about it. And if it's been a while since you've been in that setting, you don't remember what you were told. So we need to refuel. We need to get some more tips. We need to get some more nuggets on what we can do to refresh, revive, restart, and reset. So I look forward to that.
That sounds awesome. And I will include your website is in the show notes for folks listening to this. So if you'd like to donate, it's a nonprofit 501c3 organization. So you get your tax benefit. That's important to you. But just donating to a worthwhile cause and all the work that Tramaine and the Charlie's Cure Foundation is doing. And stay up to date on, Charlie and Tramaine and all their endeavors. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and also include your social media. What are some of your hashtags and not I'm sorry, not hashtags, but social media handles and such.
Yes. So we're on Facebook, Charlie's Cure Foundation, and we are also on Instagram at Charlie's Cure Foundation. And we do have a hashtag. If you're ever going through something, just be strong like Charlie. It's Charlie Strong. So hashtag Charlie Strong. I usually put that when my baby is being strong, and that is all the time, all the time. Follow us on Instagram. I'm always trying to post a highlight of her day, whether it's going to the doctor's appointment or whether she just graced me with a smile and it made my day. So I try to help make others people's day as well, because she just has a tendency to do that. She just kind of, steals people's hearts because they see her in her condition, but they see that smile and it's all over. They love her.
There you go. Yeah, she's more than her conditions, right? She's more than her ailment. She's a
Right.
beautiful young lady. And I'm so proud of you, Tremaine, and all the work and that you've been able to push. It's
You.
hard, I think, for people a lot of people, especially if you're not, and we've talked about this, I think you and I together, and then also just, being a woman of faith, I can't imagine a life um when you're not anchored in something like the Lord, when you're
Yeah.
going through these seemingly overwhelming um moments. There's actually a song that we had a women's conference at our church out here in California, and one of the songs that they sang was Surrounded. I don't know if you're familiar with that song. I have to send you a link to it. A couple people have done it. Tasha Cobbs has done the
I
version of it. Yeah, Fight My Battles.
we sing that all the time.
Oh, and that
We
line about it may seem that I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah. It does feel like that sometimes. I wasn't gonna say it, but I just noticed, and I honestly I don't think it's a big deal, but I have like this knot on my arm. And I've already been to the doctor for a cyst in my breast. It was benign, thank God. But it's just a scare. It's kind of like it's not on my brain all day, but it's just something else to deal with, right?
mhm.
I gotta, of course, go get it checked out. But when you said that it may look like I'm surrounded, it just seems like it's so many things just going on, like one thing after the other. And as long as I remember that I'm surrounded by God, that's where my peace comes from. That's where my sanity comes from, because I literally could lose it. And I'm holding together because I don't have to lose it. I'm choosing not to lose it. I'm choosing not to fall apart. And in areas where God gives me peace, I'm just taking, I'm taking it, I'm absorbing it, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful in advance that they're going to tell me, oh, this is nothing. It's nothing, you know. Um, but it's almost like the enemy will try whatever he can to make you feel like he has you surrounded.
Mhm.
No, sir. God has me surrounded. And so I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for where I am. I know that if it was, and a lot of people look at me and they say, oh, I wish, because I work from home. I have a small business. I work from home. And I don't honestly, because of Charlie, I'm not really full time with it. I'm part time because I do that. I also do the nonprofit, and then Charlee is like my full time baby, So a lot of people look on the outside looking in and they're like, oh, I wish I could be home. And I'm like, you have no idea the price that I pay, but I'm thankful to be home, not only with my daughter, but with my other kids. Had it not been for Charlee, I wouldn't be there for everything for them. I'm able to make everything. And I am so thankful for that. I would be on somebody's job working a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 6 or a 9 to 7 if you're a manager. Because before we had Charlee, I was working for an insurance company and I was running one of their offices. There was no time to clock in and clock out. It's when the work was done. So I was getting home pretty late. So, but now my life has totally changed. I'm able to do my life with my kids and with my husband and make sure that they have a hot meal and make sure I'm able to contribute to the household as well. But I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that even though, I'm in this position because my daughter, and I recognize that if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to do this, and I have to take the bitter with the sweet. The bitter part is she is like she is, but the sweet part is I get to be the best mom to her that I can be. I get to pull everything out of her that she's capable of because I'm going to go that hard for my child. And I'm going to go that hard for my other kids. And I'm going to teach them how to be good people in this world. So I'm so thankful. So thankful.
Well, I can already tell, and I haven't even met all your kids, that it's almost an automatic at this point when you can imagine. I can't imagine because I haven't personally experienced it fully, but growing up with someone like Charlee teaches you so much empathy for people in general, right? And patience and things that, sometimes can be hard to find right now in the world where people, we're sort of all over the map on our views and things and the pandemic and you name it. The sky is blue, no, it's gray. And, just
Right.
having that sense of peace and understanding and the good manners and all that kind of stuff that they'll, being patient with people is an important part. So I know you're doing a great job. And
I'm trying.
Oh yeah, well you're doing it. I know it. You and your husband.
Yes.
So
Work.
awesome. Makes the dream work. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. I know I want to get you free to get back to your day and your crew and all the things, but I really appreciate for the update for listeners, and taking the time to really learn more what the status is. But it is good that you're being victorious. Plug for the Victory Podcast.
Victory.
Yeah. So please keep us updated and we'll continue to follow on social media. And I've also included that for folks, your Instagram, your hashtag, and the Facebook as well in the show notes below so people can follow and stay connected. So thank you so much for that.
You are so welcome anytime. And thank you for being a great support. Just socially, financially, we truly appreciate it. We are here to update the Victory Podcast anytime. So you guys stay blessed.
Woo, I don't know about y'all, but that was a lot. And I know that it's only by the grace of God that Tramaine has pushed through and fought for her daughter, fought for herself. And I know she's expecting, the future. That's kind of where we came up with this episode title. So thank you for listening to that. If you enjoyed the podcast today, please like and subscribe and share with other people. That'll help other people more easily find our podcast. The more likes and subscribers you have, the higher up on that algorithm that we appear. We want other people to be blessed by a lot of these kind of, as I would say, testimonies, these moments of vulnerability that that people need, and those moments to say you're not alone. That's what we're here for at the Victory Podcast. So again, visit our website if you haven't already. If you'd like to support, we have a Patreon. We'll be working on some new Patreon exclusive content in the near future, hopefully. Also, again, check out the episode player. If you're trying to share with your friends and they use a different podcast platform, visit the Where to Listen page and scroll through there. We have everywhere that we're found. We're on Audible, we're on Podbean, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're there. And send us a note if you find out, hey, I don't see the Victory Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Let us know. We're trying to be everywhere so everyone can listen to some of the great episodes that we have and hopefully gain something to learn to help themselves in their work life, personal life, spiritual life, anything. So I'll end this episode as I end every episode. Every problem has a solution. It's whether you're willing to do the work to find it. Let's do the work and be victorious.